This is a quick warning. The video that you're about to watch will have some manga spoilers. If you're not caught up to the manga, I suggest you not watch this. But if you don't care about spoilers, go ahead. After the intro plays, that's it. That's all the warning you get. I'm not going to mention this again. So, as always, enjoy the video. Alright guys, how's it going? I am the Crown Clown, and today we are doing the final part to What If Deku was Cobra. And I know I said that, this would go till Monday. I actually didn't expect that I would actually get to this part so quickly. Because all I have left in anime content is Overhaul. And the way I've continued things, the Class 1A versus Class 1B, it's not going to happen right now because they're on high alert due to the whole incident with Bakugo being kidnapped, which, I didn't say in the last part, but they did get Bakugo back. Bakugo, he's back where he belongs. And the only three people of the League of Villains left, since, All For One, he's dead. All you got left is the Doctor, Shigaraki, Dabi, and Mr. Compress. Toga's dead, Spinner's dead. Basically everybody else is dead or captured. And since All For One's dead, there's no one to really kind of push past. Overhaul's the last big hurdle, but yeah, so this is going to be the ending. And I am going to go into the war arc. But just know that the whole Shigaraki versus, the Meta Liberation Army, that's going to go a little bit differently, obviously. And it's going to go by a little bit quicker since Dabi is amped up in this. He's the Fire Dragon Slayer. And, this is everything that I've been working towards with this series. I love this series. I would have liked it to continue on a little bit more. But hey, this is the end. And this war arc is, going to be pretty sad. It's going to have its high moments, its lows, and it's going to end on a kind of mellow note. On a somber one, if you would say that instead. But that's been enough of me talking. Let's just get into this with a quick recap. So, where we last left off, Bakugo had been kidnapped by the League of Villains. Deku had become the Lightning Iron Poison Dragon Slayer. Found out that Dabi was actually Toya Todoroki. And, that is actually, pretty big news for Endeavor to kind of take a pill of. It's hard for him to swallow. And it's even harder for Todoroki to believe it. He doesn't want to believe his brother is alive and actually became a murdering psychopath. And Deku still has his orders from the Prime Minister. Until all villains within the country are dealt with, it's kill on sight, and any hero who gets in the way is up for elimination. Deku is no longer a hero. He is now a government agent. The Prime Minister has tore him out of high school and has assigned him to be the government agent's kill order captain. He has his own squad now, and he's the captain of it. If someone's in their way, they get taken out. They're basically like a, off the records Black Ops squad. And he's happy to be in that position. He likes that a lot more than being a hero. And it allows him to be the villain he is with no consequences. So he likes it a lot. Everybody at the school the next day, they're actually just kind of depressed. UA came underneath a lot of scrutiny, and the Prime Minister almost shut down the school if Deku hadn't told her not to, because he knows how much it meant to Jiro, and his friend Ida, and even that idiot Kaminari and Tetsu. Like, he's wanting them to become heroes, because in his eyes, he wants them to be the light in the darkness. So he just kind of waits for that. And the Prime Minister tells him it's time to start forcing their way in and closing down on every single person in this city. If they're suspected of being involved with villains, interrogate. You have the power of being the judge, jury, and executioner, Cobra. I expect results. Deku tells her, by the end of the year, we'll have this nation under wraps. She says, good, do it. Anything you need, it's authorized. And he says, very well. So UA has gone to an all-dorm system. So everybody's in their dorms, and Jiro's actually, kind of depressed. Deku's not around anymore. She can't really just call him up either, since he's always on missions. And Deku, he actually walks into Night Eye's agency. And Night Eye, he's asking him, point blank, what in the hell do you want? And Deku tells him, I want you to help me find Chisaki, aka Overhaul. And Night Eye is like, what could you possibly want with him? And Deku is carrying out the Prime Minister's order. All villains are to be terminated on sight. And, Night Eye is just telling him, look, it's more complicated than that. And Deku gets in his face and he tells him, help me find him or there's going to be a complication. And Night Eye touches Deku on the shoulder as he looks into the future to see what would happen if they fought. Night Eye sees his death, so he chooses to avoid it. Even though, what Night Eye sees is generally his direct future, I'm going to say in this, he's actually, it is going to be his future, but he chooses to disregard that future to create a new one. He's pulling a Deku, basically. So, he agrees to work with Cobra. And they find Overhaul, and it's because of Deku's squads. His squad is a bunch of just unnamed people, but one of their quirks is sonic emission. Another one of their quirks is called, Cyberlock. It's where he can scan through communication cables and, internet histories or just the wavelengths and hear what people are, saying, what they're searching up. He sees it in his brain and he hears it in his ears. So he's able to help locate them even more. And the final member on Deku's 4-man task force is one that can, sense people by touching the ground. Basically think of it as echolocation, but using the, tectonic plates of the earth, their energy to search and see everybody's movements on the earth. And Deku's actually very happy with his squad. And they track down Chisaki way earlier than in canon. And he tells Night Eye, come on, let's get your boy. And Night Eye says, wait a minute, we need to have more heroes than this. And Deku says, no, you have me. That's good enough. And Deku says, actually, there is one person you can call. And Night Eye says, who? Deku says, call Endeavor. So Endeavor, he gets called. And he actually shows up because he wants to talk to Cobra. And Cobra wants to talk to him. Because Cobra's had enough of this runaround every time he tries to find out more information about Toya Todoroki. He wants the truth, and he's going to get it out of Endeavor, even if he has to torture it out of him. And Endeavor shows up there. Deku says, okay, here's the thing, Endeavor. Right now, you're working for me. I don't want to hear any talk back. I don't want to hear any complaining. Because truth be told, your son is a psychopathic killer. That's reason enough for me to terminate you right here and now. But we want him brought in alive. And if there's someone out there who he would be drawn to, it'd be you. His own father. And Endeavor's just like, yeah. And Deku says, now then, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna take out Overhaul, the Yakuza. Rumor has it that they've been selling illegal drugs, and since they're Yakuza, that makes them villains. And my order is to eliminate all villain organization and villains on site, and to have this country back on track within the year. So you heroes are gonna help me. And oh, we don't take any prisoners. This is strictly a kill mission. So keep it short, keep it sweet, move on. And Night Eye and Endeavor are actually agreeing with each other on this, that this is too far. They have no right to be judge, jury, or executioner. And Deku, he's just like, I don't care how you feel. We're doing this. Whether you guys like it or not. Get in my way, you're up for elimination. And Night Eye knows how he'd end up with fighting against Deku. And he doesn't think that Endeavor would fare any better, considering how strong Deku is, one-shotting someone that even All Might had trouble beating. So they don't think they're, anywhere near his level to even challenge his authority. Not only that, his kill squad that's with him, they would absolutely wreck them. Even though their combat abilities are unknown, their quirks would be able to just tell him where their location's at, everything. So it'd be little to no point in trying to fight them. They're too dangerous. So they go in, they break down Chisaki's door, and Chisaki ends up noticing, and Deku can hear him. And, Shift, the guy who can use the tectonic plates, yeah, I'm calling him Shift. And he tells him, bottom floor. So, what's Cobra do? Poison Dragon Roar. Breaks straight through all the way down. He jumps down there, and he catches up to Chisaki real quick. And Deku can hear something. He hears this kid's voice, and his anger grows, and he breaks down the door to that laboratory where Eri was being kept and experimented on. Rage flows through him. His body turns to iron. Lightning sparks from his eyes, the poison coming off of his hands and out of his mouth as a gas. And his kill squad says, okay, everyone evacuate. Boss is handling this himself. And Night Eye and Endeavor is just like, what? Then why bring us? And he says, you guys are on crowd control. Keep the people out. Last thing we need is any news, media, or civilians getting caught in the crossfire. That'd backfire on the Prime Minister plans. However, if anyone gets past, it's you two that's getting thrown in jail. And with that, they comply. Endeavor creates a fire ring all the way around Chisaki's house, preventing any civilians from getting in. And the first responders show up due to the fire, and Endeavor just tells them no. And they're just like, but it's a fire, it could spread. Endeavor says, then keep it contained, but don't put it out. And like, what's going on in there? He says, an extermination mission. And just at that time, the Prime Minister comes onto the news. And she says to the people, villains have terrorized their society for too long. Heroes are growing incompetent, not being able to protect the society. To combat that, she has formed a specialized task force. Their sole mission? To eliminate all villains throughout the country. So please, stay in their homes and do not go out unless absolutely necessary. They do not need to be caught in any unnecessary attention. If they see pro-heroes in their area, they should go to their homes and lock the doors. That means an extermination mission is being carried out. And everybody starts to do that. The villains are now scared. However, there's one organization that's rallying them to their cause. That's Redestro. He's rallying more and more villains to his cause to overthrow this corrupt government, as he's putting it. And he's getting a lot more traction. And Shigaraki realizes that's his way back on top. And Dabi says he'll help him if that means he gets a war. And Shigaraki promises Dabi the biggest war he could ever hope for. An all or nothing gamble. Heroes versus villains. The final battle. As he contacts the doctor in his underground, lab, he tells Shigaraki, okay, we can do that. So, Shigaraki heads to the Meta Liberation Army. Meanwhile, Deku, he's just killing everybody in Chisaki's residence. He's pretty much got Eri on his back. He's blindfolded her, plugged her ears, so she can't hear or see everything that's going down. And he's already tore up, all of Shigaraki's lieutenants. Like, he's just going through the fodder people till he gets to overhaul himself, which he eventually does. And overall ask him, can you really blame me for what I did? And it's not like that poison of yours will work on me. And Deku tells him, didn't you hear? I'm not just a poison dragon anymore. As Chisaki widens his eyes, realizing what's about to happen, as Deku inhales, and he says, lightning, iron, poison dragon, roar. And he completely incinerates Overhaul on the spot. And Eri is, pretty much shooken up. Deku, he undoes all of his dragon abilities. And he grabs Eri and he holds her tight. They get out there. He sets her down on the ambulance. He undoes the bandages that he put over her eyes and undoes her earplugs. She looks at him and he just smiles at her and says, it's okay now. Don't worry. He'll never hurt you again. And Eri says, how can you be sure? And Deku tells her, because I made sure he won't be doing anything ever again. He'll never be able to find you. He'll never be able to touch you. He'll never be able to hurt you. I promise you. And Eri, hearing that, she doesn't quite believe it. But, a government agent comes and it's a female. She has long white hair. And she's actually the Prime Minister's biological daughter. Her name is Jun Arasaka. And she grabs Eri and she says, don't worry. I promise he's telling the truth. And Eri just kind of smiles. She's gonna choose to believe them. Not fully yet, of course, but over time, she's going to try to understand them. But with Overhaul out of the way, Deku goes right back to his hunt for Dabi. he goes through it, but first he talks to Endeavor, and Endeavor is forced to tell him everything he did to Todoroki, to his other children, to his wife, and what he drove his wife to do to Todoroki. And Deku is appalled by this, and he says, "And you call yourself a hero? No. From now on, you're a sacrificial pawn. I'd kill you here and now. But you still serve a purpose." Endeavor says, "Wait, so you're just going to send me on a suicide mission?" Deku says, "No, of course not. And that's not within our power to do. That would be up to the Prime Minister, someone who you will stand trial in front of. But for now, you're going to be bait. You're going to draw out Dabi." And Endeavor tells him, "And if I refuse?" Deku says, "Then I'll kill you." Endeavor thinks about it, and he chooses to atone with being used as bait. Even though it's something he's not gonna like, he does choose to do it because he feels like he failed his son, which he did. He was a terrible father. There's no way he's gonna be able to escape from his sins. So, some time passes, months. Deku, he spends it with Jiro. You know, they're growing closer. Their bond is a lot deeper now. And then it hits. With Shigaraki, he's over there. He's made contact with Redestro. And the fight ensues with him, Mr. Compress, and Dabi. However, with Dabi, it's a one-sided massacre. The Fire Dragon's powers are too great, even for Redestro, as Shigaraki claims victory and claims the Meta Liberation, now renaming it as the Paranormal Liberation Army. And they get ready to march. Shigaraki, he spends the next few months in the test tube. And Deku actually gets a tip. And it's from, one of his people. And he tells him. And they found him. He was searching the web, and he was able to come across some underground bunker at a hospital. And Deku says, "Who is it there?" He says, "Shigaraki. And a doctor." And Deku says, "Very well. Brief the heroes. We're gonna crush this here and now. Just know we might be in for a fight. If their leader's there, they're probably not held up too far away." And Deku, he's like, "Redestro, it's about damn time." And Redestro, he knows Cobra's going to be coming for him. And he knows that this Fire Dragon is going to be out for him. Out for blood. It's going to be dragon versus dragon. And he says, no. It's people versus people. Dragons versus dragons. People versus dragons. It's going to be an extravagant event. My dear boy, I can't wait to see how much you've grown. As Shigaraki awakens to his power, fully this time, Deku breaks into the hospital. As Shigaraki begins, he tries to take Deku's power, but notices it's not coming. Deku hits him with lightning, and he notices that Shigaraki can regenerate. And, he hears someone else coming for him as he sees this giant man yelling, "My son, how good of you to return home." And he says, "Redestro, I've been waiting to kill you." And he literally just grabs Shigaraki by the neck, snaps it, and walks off. Shigaraki's gonna heal from this, but it's gonna take a little bit of time. After all, he did just wake up. And Deku jumps at Redestro, slamming him with even more force than before. He's in his, Dragon Force mode. And this time, there's no one who's gonna be able to stop him. He slams his fist into Redestro's skull, hitting the ground into a crater. He just lays into him, piece after piece, bit by bit, and he says, "This is it. No more. You're dead, old man. You betrayed me. You put me in prison. You turned me into a monster. I won't let that happen again. Not to me, not to anyone else. You were too dangerous. You die here, Destro." And he uses his poison abilities as he floods Redestro's body with poison. Redestro screaming out in pain and agony, coughing up his own blood, looking at his once son, and all he can see is the little boy he saved. And he says, "My dear boy, I wish things could have gone differently." As he sees Deku's screaming, angered face covered with Redestro's blood that he's been coughing up. And he sees the fist that's about to kill him. But the poison finishes him off first. As Redestro closes his eyes, his head falls into the ground, smile on his face. His hand, open palmed, on top of Cobra's head. And Deku, he's shocked. And he says, "I'm gonna miss you." As he gets up, he hears something though. Class 1A, they're on the battlefield. They're screaming. Something's gone wrong. As his kill squad is on the ground and they're saying, "Sir, we'll handle this. Go check on the students." And he says, "Right away." As he rushes over there, he can see the flames growing. He hears him. Dabi. And he gets over there just in time to see him having his hands around Jiro's throat. Rage fills his eyes. As Dabi says, "Just in time. Gonna torch this little bitch," as he sets her on fire, burning her ablaze. As Deku loses all sense of reason, his face growing scales, his arms more dragon-like than before, the iron coating over the top, the lightning shooting off of his face, the poison rushing out of his mouth as he lets out a monstrous rage of screams. It sounds as if a dragon's roar could be heard through the heavens itself. He immediately starts to feel a mutation. Wings spurt out of his back as he rages, as he pushes himself forward, as he grabs him by the face, slamming Dabi into the ground as Dabi goes into his Dragon Force, something he didn't show off in their last fight. As he flames up and bursts Deku off of him, he says, "I've got the power of the Fire Dragon King. You just have 3 lowly dragons." As Deku rushes at him again, and Dabi, he uses the Fire King's Dragon's Roar. However, that's what Deku was waiting for. As he swallows it up, you can feel it burning his insides as he's trying to get it under control. As he feels it's different than the other two. They were easier to control. But this one's taken a little bit of time. But his rage inside of him after seeing the woman he cared about die. The anger that fills in him, the tears that are running down his face. He controls the Fire King Dragon's powers as his poison sets a blaze of a burning, and now his hands burning with poisonous fire, his mouth spewing it out of his mouth. Poison, that is, not fire. He marches towards Dabi, ready to end it. Endeavor jumps right in between them as Deku just impales him right through. Dabi realizes his old man just tried to save his life, and he takes that moment to set Endeavor and Deku ablaze. Deku eats the fire and just keeps moving forward, unflinching. As Dabi starts to get scared, Deku grabs him by the throat, breaks his arm, his leg, as he pins him to the ground, stomps on his spine, and severs it. Dabi is paralyzed. He can't move. And Deku just says, "Iron Dragon Flaming Spear," as his hand turns into a spear that is set on fire, and he impales Dabi with it right through his stomach, setting his internal organs ablaze. And then, just for salt on the wound, he infects him with poison. Spreading the poison through the wound, it immediately gets infected. His organs are shutting down. As Dabi's world is going black, Deku relishes in the sound of his internal pain, the screams from Dabi. And Dabi dies. Right then and there. Meanwhile, Deku sees his kill squad is all but killed off by Shigaraki. As Shigaraki's powers grow, he's taken their quirks, they're defenseless. And that's when Kaminari and Tetsu get right up there beside Deku. And he says, "So, 3 dragons versus the baddie of all baddies. How do you think it's gonna go?" And Deku says, "Dragons got this easily." As they lunge towards Shigaraki trying to take their quirks, but it's been months since they've had their Dragon Slayer powers tested, so their Dragon Slayer powers have fused with their quirks, meaning Shigaraki can't touch it. As Kaminari rushes at him with the speed of lightning and hits him into the ground, Tetsu hits him with the metal, spike punch just right in the face. And Deku follows it up with a poison dragon roar, spreading the poison through Shigaraki's body. And it's destroying his organs faster than he can heal it. And on top of that, he's receiving physical punishment from 3 Dragon Slayers at the same time. Everybody's watching this and they're just surprised that these kids are so strong. Shigaraki can't do anything. It's taken all he can just to try and heal his wounds. So, they surround him in a triangle, and they increase their power to max. Deku says, "Ready." As Kirishima says, "Lightning Dragon, Tetsu. Iron Dragon, Deku. Lightning, Iron, Fire, Poison Dragon Kings, roar." As they all roar at the same time, completely obliterating Shigaraki. Not even a molecule left of him. And with that, the major players in the war were taken out. Without a master, Gigatomakia, he loses his strength. But even then, he doesn't stand a chance against Deku, who now has the might of 4 dragons. He slams his fist into Gigatomakia to make him submit to him, just so he knows who's boss. Machia submits to Deku. The Liberation Army, knowing how Deku is, how ruthless he is, and now how much more powerful he is, surrender to him. And Deku says, "Very well." The Prime Minister's plane is overhead. Seeing as how the battle has ended, she lands. She looks at the carnage the battlefield has brought. As Deku reports to her, she says, "Well," as Deku looks her in the eyes, and he says, "They've all surrendered. They're ready for judgment." And she says, "Their fate's up to you." And Deku tells them all, with the microphone in hand, he yells at them, "These are your only two choices. You can either obey my every command, with no exceptions. You shall be this city's protection, this country's protection. You villains will serve me for the rest of your lives to atone for the evil you have done. God knows I need to atone as well. I wasn't able to show someone important to me just how much I've grown. But that means I have to work all the more harder. With this is over. Any future villain that pops up, we put them down, hard and without mercy. We're killers, so that means we're fit to judge people from the same cloth as us." And all the villains, they're getting behind what Deku's saying. And they say, "So we won't be going to jail?" Deku says, "Whenever you're not on missions, you'll be assigned housing that you will stay in until a mission is called. So yes, you will be in jail. But the other option is execution. Plain and simple." And they all just say, "Yeah, we'll follow you." With that, everyone from the Paranormal Liberation Front, even Mr. Compress, chooses to follow Deku or die. Endeavor's put on trial for the crimes he's committed against his family, and he's sent to prison for child abuse, neglect, and reckless endangerment. He's not getting out for a while, and there's no possibility of parole. So, yeah, Deku, for the rest of his life, he pretty much just watches over his city, sitting there in his chair, drinking his drink, Cabellos at his side, thinking about her. But he has moved on. It's been years since the incident, and he's gotten closer to somebody else now. A hero, you could say. She's no stranger to the nighttime. Yep, Deku and Midnight hit it off, seeing as how he saved her from dying from Gigantomachia. And she was actually there to comfort him at Jiro's funeral. It took a while, but he's finally gotten over her. And since he is a legal adult, there's no problem with them dating. And Deku, he is government now. He's right up there as the Prime Minister's right-hand man, her enforcer. So he has a say in how this country's ran. And actually, she grooms Deku to be the next Prime Minister, which he gladly accepts, meaning security gets a lot tighter in Japan, all throughout. All villain activity is crushed immediately with the new Liberation Kill Squad. Everyone that was part of there, even Machia, is now a government agent of covert kill squads to kill any high-level criminal activity, to assure another League of Villains never arises again. And that's it. That's the story. I hope you guys enjoyed this. this was a lot of fun for me to do. I really liked this whole series, and yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. So, let me know how you guys thought about this ending. I know this video's not very long. I probably could have cut back on the previous video, but I just was in the moment, you know. And yeah, look forward to Psylocke and, you know, Sabretooth today. You know, Psylocke's gonna have a few more videos, but as for Cobra, no, this is it. Sabretooth, you might get an extra video for that one. Don't know yet, because I still have to go through the training arc, the One for All, overhaul. So yeah, I do. So yeah, anyways, all the links to the Discord and the social media are down below. I put my Instagram down there, so go ahead and give that a follow. And as always, I've been the Crown Clown. I'll see all you amazing people again when Sabretooth releases in a few hours. Peace.